Are you an accounting or tax professional who wants to stay ahead without spending a dime? Join thousands who trust insightful accountant and tax practice news to keep them informed and empowered. Get expert updates on QuickBooks, Xero, tax planning strategies, and workflow tips delivered straight to your inbox. Whether you're a solo bookkeeper, firm leader, or tax advisor, these newsletters are your shortcut to what's next in the profession. They're free, practical, and built for people like you. Visit insightfulaccountant.com and hit subscribe to start your smarter workflow today for free.
Hi, Gilbert. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning? Yeah, still good morning. Doing well.
It's good morning for you. It's good morning for you.
Right.
And I'm excited for this one because I was telling Gilbert yesterday, we started using Bill.com, but I'm an amateur user. And so I am 100% positive that I'm about to learn some things, and which is always good. All right, we'll give that like 10 more seconds. Make sure you answer the polling question. All right, and 3, 2, 1, we'll get started. All right. So thank you for being here, Gilbert. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
I'm excited, and I'm going to let you take it away from there to tell us all the magical things that Bill can do to help us make us more efficient tax and bookkeepers.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go ahead and walk you through. My name is Gilbert Cep, by the way. I am a solutions consultant here at Bill. I'm actually reaching my 12th year here at Bill this month. So started off in support, kind of worked my way up through, tech implementations, onboarding, pretty much anything I can get my hands on. And now I am part of the implementations team. So definitely seen a few things while I've been here. So I'll do my best, to kind of walk you through our 4-step process here with my demo account. So we're going to start off with step 1, which is the inbox, how to get those documents into the inbox and how we can start creating those bills. Step 2 will then be writing them for approvals, and I'll be able to go over the different approval policies that you're able to create within Bill. Step 3 will then be writing up for payments, and I'll be able to go over the different payment methods that we offer, as well as post-payment actions. And then the last step would be reconciliation, getting this information over to the accounting software. Now, we do have some APIs already built out, as you all know, for example, QuickBooks Online, QuickBooks Desktop, Xero. Just to kind of show you some here right off the bat. QuickBooks Desktop, including Enterprise, QuickBooks Online, Xero, Sage Intacct, Oracle, NetSuite, Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central, including only the cloud version, not the on-premise. And then for any accounting softwares that we're not going to be working here that are listed here, we do also have an import-export feature where you can import information using CSV files as well as exporting bills, payments, anything that you want to create. And we can also assist with creating templates so that way it'll have the correct headers when it comes time to importing that information into your accounting software or ERP system. Okay. All right. But let's go ahead and get started here. So before we jump into the inbox, I do like to go over the first page you'll be viewing as soon as you click into a bill account. So this will kind of give you a bird's eye view into the most recent transactions. So from here, we'll be able to keep track of any bills that are overdue or that are due within the next 7 days or 7 days plus. We'll also be able to give you a quick glance of any upcoming payments that are scheduled to be going out to the vendors. And we are also going to be providing you a bill approval queue, which will be broken down by approvers. That way you can keep track of how many bills are assigned to those approvers and how many days it's been since those bills have been approved. And we will be sending out automatic reminders to those approvers if they do have any outstanding bills on their end. And then the last thing would be our to-do list. Now, our to-do list is designed based on your user permissions. Since I am an administrator and have full access to this account, I'll be able to keep track of any bills that have been denied, if any bills are ready to be paid, or if there's any documents in the inbox that still haven't been processed. So I'll be able to keep track of my daily Bill.com tasks using my to-do list, which I can also have it emailed to me directly. And then let's say you're set up as in a different role, maybe as an approver only, you would get a completely different consolidated list, pretty much just telling you, hey, there's any bills that you need to approve. So depending on what your role is, that's how we're going to be building out your to-do list. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right into the first step, which is the inbox. First things first is we got to get those documents into the inbox so we can start creating those bills. Now, the preferred method would be to use the dedicated email address. We can provide that to the vendors. Vendors can then just email those documents right in. If we already have an AP email address set up to receive those bills, and if we want to continue using that AP email address, then you can just create a forwarding role. Just forward those documents into the inbox. For some of those vendors that are still sending in paper bills, you can scan them, upload them, use the drag and drop feature. And then for those who are always on the go, never really have a chance to be in front of a computer, you can also use your mobile device. All you'll need to do is just log into the Bill.com app, take a picture of the physical document, which will then upload into the inbox within a matter of seconds. When it comes to working with the inbox, we do offer unlimited document storage, meaning you never have to worry about reaching any type of limit, which is another reason why a lot of our clients like to use us as a digital filing cabinet. So not only are you able to upload bills and invoices, you can upload W-9s, contracts, agreements, any important document, which you can store either at the vendor level. So for example, we'll even prompt you. If you upload a W-9, we'll let you know if this is a potential new vendor that you can assign this W-9 to a specific vendor, right? Or we can go under Documents, click Folders, and this is where you can really start building out your own digital filing cabinet. You can create as many folders as you like. As soon as those documents are in the inbox, you can then start filing those away into one of these digital folders. And then if you ever need to review the document, you can just click on the folder. You can click on the document. From here, you can view it. You can even download it if you need to, but at least this way you don't have to worry about holding on to any more of those paper copies. Everything can be digitally stored within Bill. Now, as soon as the documents are uploaded into the inbox, our intelligent virtual assistant will then start taking over those documents. And the first thing it's going to do, it's going to look for any potential duplicates by taking the vendor name, the invoice number, and running it against the vendor record in Bill. Now, if it does find a potential duplicate, it's going to first flag it as a duplicate. It's also going to be providing you a direct link to that existing bill. So from here, you can decide whether you want to delete this document, if you want to attach it to that existing bill, or if you want to file it away under the vendor or into a digital folder. So what we're going to do here is we're going to pretend a Sienna Design did some work for us. They went ahead and emailed us their invoice right into our inbox. We're going to click on their invoice and we're going to click Enter Bill. As soon as we do that, our intelligent virtual assistant will then start taking some of that high-level information from the document, and it's going to start plugging that into the bill creation template. So it's going to plug in the vendor name, invoice number, invoice date, the due date, as well as the total amount of the bill. There's going to be 3 other sections that are also going to be pre-populated for you. However, that information is actually not going to get pulled from the document. We're going to be using a different technology called Smart Data Entry. And what Smart Data Entry does, it actually goes back to the very last bill that was created for that specific vendor. And it's going to plug in the same bill description, those same line items, as well as assign those same approvers. So as you can see, as soon as we clicked Enter Bill, I'd say 98% of the bill has already been pre-populated for you. So it really becomes more of a review process than a data entry process. And then the only time we're going to need to make any manual adjustments here is we're going to be working with multiple line items. We are going to need to break down those dollar amounts. But the best part of it, we don't even have to type it in. We can use our click to capture tool. We can go right into the invoice, highlight the dollar amount, click on it once to copy, click once again to paste.
That's so cool. See, I've already learned a bunch of new stuff just in a couple of minutes. I love it. Um, this is so great. And I just want to say really quickly that since we started using Bill.com internally first for our practice before we started recommending it to our clients. But even with just tax only clients, like all of us have clients who are disorganized, who want to send us a bunch of paper, who, just want to upload invoices and receipts and hope that we can somehow magically turn that into a tax return. This is a really cost effective way for the clients to start to get a little bit more organized during the year, not just for us, but for themselves, but, selfishly for us. So that because we can have access to this and go back to the original source documents, answer their questions, figure out what they're spending their $250 on, and just a really amazing tool. But like just the fact that it can data capture so quickly, I think makes it such a great recommendation for the small business owner because it's an easy thing for them to implement.
Absolutely, absolutely. And not to mention how we're going to be syncing all of this information into the accounting software, right? So
Yes.
syncing bills, syncing payments. It's not just journal entries. You'll be able to click on the bill, view the coding. You'll be able to click on the payment, view the payment details as well. Mm,
Love it.
absolutely. Yep. Um, Yeah, and that's really what it comes down to coding there. Very simple, taking the information from the invoice and just plugging it in into the bill creation template. The second step will then be writing it for approvals. Right now, we do offer two types of approvals. We do have the approval group as well as the individual approver. Now, the approval group does have an and/or functionality. For example, here we created a group that has 15 approvers. As soon as we click Create Bill, each one of those approvers will receive a notification letting them know that they've been assigned to a bill that needs to be reviewed and approved. However, only one approver would be required to approve the bill. So whoever gets to it first, reviews it, approves it, we would then be removing it from everyone else's approval queue. And then if there is a second approver on that bill, we will be sending them a notification, letting them know it's their turn to review and approve the bill. Within each bill, we do have a note section. So if there's anything special going on with these bills, we can always leave notes. That way other approvers, administrators, or anyone who has access to review the bill will be able to see those notes. But one of my favorite features here is that you can also communicate with your team members directly through Bill. For example, I can tag Alan, I can leave Alan a note. As soon as we click Create Bill, Alan would then receive a notification where he would be able to review that note. But then if he wants to reply to it, it's going to bring them right back into this bill. So going forward, all that communication will be kept within Bill. No need to email them, call them, or text them outside the platform. And any notes that are entered in Bill cannot be edited, cannot be deleted, which is great for audit purposes. So down the road, we can always come back and review those notes, which will be date and time stamped as well.
Nice.
Now, when it comes time to assigning approvers, we do have a few different ways. The first one is you can always just click on the drop down. From here, we can select more approval groups. We can select more individuals. We can set up default approvers. That way, going forward, anytime a new bill is created, Bill will automatically assign those default approvers. But we do have another feature called dynamic approvals, where you can actually create approval policies based on certain criteria. And that criteria can be total amount, line item amount, department, location, job, class, customer, vendor, employee, chart of account.
Now, for our clients, like our firm, for example, like we work with a lot of trades contractors. They're out in the field during the day, and that's one of the hardest things that we have to deal with in terms of getting documentation for them from them. How easy is it for them to access this via their mobile phones and go through these processes?
Extremely easy. We try to make it to the point where you don't have to be in front of a computer anymore. As I showed earlier, I mean, you can start taking pictures of documents, right, of bills, and they'll start uploading right into the inbox, right?
Nice.
And if we go through the mobile app, so right now I'm currently logged in as an approver, but if I log in as an administrator, we can start creating bills, right? We can create bills, we can pay them, we can approve them, we can review, attach documents, pretty much anything that we need to do via the mobile app. Once the bill has been approved, we can actually just click review and pay, and we can make the payment right from our mobile device as well.
Amazing.
Right. So, but yes, pretty much everything can be done directly through the mobile app.
That is definitely the key to getting some of our clients to keep their documents in a little bit more of an organized fashion. So this is great.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we could go to payables right up here, click the plus that, take a photo, add a photo to the library, or enter in manually, right? So this is how you would be creating those bills. Very simple.
Awesome.
And then when it comes time to approving bills, if you download the mobile app and you enable notifications for the app, you'll actually get a banner right across your mobile device letting you know that you've been assigned to a bill that needs to be reviewed and approved. If you click on that banner, it'll take you directly to Bill. Now, I'm currently logged in as an approver because if you look at my to-do list, that's really all I have on my plate. It's just to approve bills, right? So approvers wouldn't be getting notifications such as, hey, there's some bills that you need to pay or bills that you need to correct because they wouldn't have permission to take action on those items. So from here, we would be able to see a breakdown of each individual bill. At a very high level, this is all the information we need. Swipe right to approve, swipe left to deny. We also give you the option of being able to click into the bill itself. From your mobile device, you'll still be able to review those attached documents. And if everything looks great from here, we can click approve. However, let's say maybe the expense account is incorrect, we can then click deny. And anytime a bill is denied, the approver will be required to leave notes. We're actually going to be taking those notes and we're going to be saving them in the bill's notes section. But most importantly, it's also going to be reflected within the bill's audit trail. We have an audit trail pretty much tied to everything, to bills, to payments, when a vendor's created, when a chart of account is created, so that way you can always keep track of any updates that are made to those transactions. Awesome. And then once the bills have been approved, the next step will then be to pay those bills, and we'll be able to pay them under the unpaid bills tab. From here, we're going to get a list of only fully approved bills. And it really is as simple as picking and choosing which bills you want to pay and then clicking review and pay. Or hey, it's Thursday. Maybe we only want to run one payment. We can select all of them at once and then click review and pay. Since we do have our money transmitter license in all 50 states, we will be able to process all of your e-payments, also known as ACH payments. We can send out physical checks on your behalf, so you no longer have to worry about writing those out or dropping them off at the post office. We can send out international wires in both USD and in the vendor's local currency. And then for some of those vendors that only want to get paid via credit card, we can actually send them a virtual credit card directly through Bill. But it can all be done through Bill without you having to worry about submitting any positive pay forms or any notch files to a bank. We do not use a third party to process our payments. All of our payments are processed through Bill. So if you have any questions regarding those payment details, you can always contact us directly and we will be able to assist.
That's really cool. I mean, this is definitely one of the reasons why we started using it internally. As we started to grow, it became a lot more difficult to manage, like when things were coming and going. And it just gives us a really beautiful one-stop shop to say what's coming up for invoices or that are due, to be able to pay them, to be able to like manage our own cash flow, which is a big deal from a small business perspective. And now we're teaching our clients how to essentially do the same thing. And the fact that I can just forward an invoice from my email directly to my bill box and it appears magically is just such a huge time savings.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Glad to hear that. Um, and then just to kind of go over different payment methods here, here's an example of the checks that we're going to be sending out. It'll have the remittance information, top left-hand corner, company information, the vendor name. We're also going to be providing a stub along with these check payments, so that way the vendor knows exactly what they're going to be getting paid for. And then when we do send out these checks, the banking information on these checks will actually be Bill's banking information. So at no point do we ever expose yours or your client's bank accounts to the vendors.
Nice. Very nice.
When it comes time to setting up vendors for e-payments, we do have a few different ways. The first one is if we have the vendor's banking information, you can just click on the vendor name, click edit vendor. And then right here under payment type, this is where you can enter in their routing number, their bank account information. Now, if you do go down this route for a few of those vendors, I always recommend sending them an invite. That way you can start paying them via e-payment. But down the line, if they ever need to update their banking information, they'll be able to manage that going forward. That way, that responsibility will not be on you. And now we also made it easier to collect W-9s directly through Bill. So if
I
you're
was just going to ask that. I said, I see that little magical W-9 number right there. How do we get these W-9s?
Absolutely. So if you have your vendors flagged as 1099 vendors, you're going to see this additional tab that's going to say tax document. Now, if you have their W-9 already on file, you can just simply upload it to this tab, and we're going to be changing their status from W-9 missing to W-9 in bill. If you don't have their W-9, you can click Request W-9. We're going to send that vendor a notification, letting them know that you want to receive their W-9 as soon as they click share on their end, because when they set up their account, they're going to be prompted to create a W-9 within their account. So they're not actually going to be sending you any paper documents. Nothing's going to get mailed out or anything like that. As soon as they click share on their end, you'll see the option to view. And as soon as you click view, you'll be able to see their W-9 already pre-filled out for you. Right. We even give you the option of downloading it if you need to, but at least this way you don't have to worry about holding on to any more of those paper copies.
That's amazing. This is like, I'm sure that there's some people listening. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but this is like the bane of our existence right at the beginning of tax season, because our clients just don't do this during the year. And then all of a sudden we're rushing to get the 1099s. And this just makes it so easy to try to organize and make it happen as we're making vendor payments throughout the year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the main reasons we implemented that feature is because now you are able to e-file 1099s
You read
directly
my
through Bill.
mind.
So if your vendors are flagged as 1099 vendors, you will see them listed here. This is where you'll also be able to manage their 1099 box numbers. And if some of these vendors have already been paid outside of Bill, we do give you an opportunity of adding any missing payments. And when you're reviewing or entering those bills and payments, you'll also be able to select which line, expense line do you want to include or exclude from that 1099 report as well. So you'll be able to select that from the drop-down box. Okay. Uh, Also from this tab, if somebody ever asks you for a W-9, you can just, where it says share W-9, this is where you can enter in your information here, and we're going to populate those that W-9 for you. So this is what the vendor would actually be doing on their end as well. And then all they need to do is just click share. So this is how simple it is to share your W-9 across the bill network.
Beautiful.
Absolutely. And then other ways of setting up vendors for e-payments are, uh, in the initial sync, if we're going to be working with one of these specific accounting softwares, we're going to be bringing in the entire list of vendors, right? So they'll be brought into Bill. And as we're bringing these in, we're going to see if these vendors already exist in our network. We have over 7 million payees and payers within our network already. So it is possible that a lot of these vendors already have a Bill account. So we'll take the vendor name, the email address, the physical address, and we'll see if we can find a potential match. So that way, when you connect with your vendor, the payment method will go from a check payment method right into an e-payment method at the moment.
I have noticed that. I think that feature is really incredible that like when I'm setting up a new vendor, that Bill will actually, as I type the name, like suggest, hey, is it one of these businesses that we already have in the system? And then my
Right.
job is done.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it's for some of those like utility larger billers, right? A lot of the times it'll let you know, hey, this is a national verified vendor. Do you want to connect? As soon as you click yes, it's going to prompt you to enter the account number that's associated with that vendor. So that way, when you send your payment, they'll know exactly where to apply it to.
That's great.
Absolutely. And now let's say maybe the vendors don't exist in our network. Maybe we don't have their banking information. And I've worked with so many partners that do not want to hold on to vendor banking information, right? So what we can do here is we can actually send them an invite directly to the vendor. That way they can enter in their own banking information that they want to use to receive their funds. They'll have full visibility into all of the payment details that they're going to be receiving through Bill. So they can pretty much run their own payment reports without having to reach out to you. And we're also going to be sending them payment notifications, letting them know that they have been paid, and we're going to be providing them the direct deposit date of when those funds will be deposited into their bank account.
Very nice.
Right. Uh, and then once the payments have been created, we will be. Oh, actually, international wires. We currently are processing international wires. Is that correct? We can cover it. Absolutely. So in Bill, you are able to enable multi-currency. So for example, this
Nice.
specific beer, Coco, wants to get paid in euros. So we can start creating their bills in euros, in pesos, right? When it comes time to paying the bills, if we go to review and pay, we are going to be showing you the exchange rate. So that way you'll know exactly how much will be debited from the bank account or credit card. You can also use a credit card to send international wires. What we'll do is we'll debit the funds from the credit card, and then we'll send out a wire to that vendor. Now, these are the only payments that cannot be scheduled ahead of time. Reason being is that the exchange rate does change on a daily basis. So what we do is we lock in that rate for that day, and that's what the vendor's going to be receiving when they receive their wire.
Very nice. Now, I saw a spot where I saw purchase requests.
Mhm.
So, like, let's maybe go back to my trades contractors for a second. They have their team out in the field working on a job and they need supplies and materials for that job. How would they be able to use that with their team for their team to make purchase requests?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have a new feature now where we work with procurement. Basically, you're able to create, um, you can create purchase request, select the vendor, service date and service date, select the items, that we're going to be using, the expenses. And then from here, we can have it approved. Once it's approved, it actually converts into a purchase order. As soon as you convert it into a purchase order, we're going to send that purchase order to the vendor. From there, the vendor can then send their bill, right, for those items into the inbox. And then in bill, you can either do a two-way match if we're just doing the purchase order to the bill, or we can even do a three-way match where we'll do the item receipt, the purchase order, as well as match the bill, right? So
Nice.
all of this will be done within bill, right? This way we can keep track of how much we're receiving and how much we're actually paying, right? And you can create as many purchase orders as you like. Create as many bills as you like for that purchase order. Once the purchase order has been fulfilled, you will no longer be able to link that purchase order to a bill because now it's marked as fulfilled.
Very nice.
Mhm.
Now, you mentioned integrations with the accounting softwares. So let's just, from the other side of the table, like let's say I'm working in a client's QuickBooks and I'm trying to figure out they've got a bunch of expenses and repairs and maintenance, and I want to drill down to the original documents of what those were. Maybe I think some of them were miscategorized and I'm trying to figure it out before I file the tax return. What's the most efficient way for me to go from I'm looking in QuickBooks to now finding these documents in Bill?
Great question. So quick, I guess I can cover both QuickBooks Desktop and QuickBooks Online because we do have API integrations for both. With
Okay.
QuickBooks Desktop, what you'll want to do is you'll basically want to come back to bill, click on the actual bill itself, because anytime you create a bill, we're going to keep the attached document for that bill, right? So if we click on the invoice number, we'll be able to see the attached document, right? So we will need to come back to bill to view the attached document. For QuickBooks Online, we actually have a new integration where we are now able to sync the attached document right into QuickBooks Online. So you'll view it in QuickBooks Online. If you click on it, it's not going to redirect you back to Bill. It's just going to open up a new tab and you'll be able to see the attached document there.
I
Um,
love it.
for attached documents, it's actually a two-way sync. So if you create a bill in QuickBooks with an attached document, we can actually bring the bill and the attached document right back into Bill.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Now, follow-up question to that, because we
Mhm.
don't always trust our clients to make good decisions. What happens if they bring in a bill and they code it to the wrong expense account? And let's say we have to change it. If we change it in QuickBooks, will that come back to Bill?
It will not, because we would only be able to make updates to unpaid bills in Bill. So
Okay.
what I would recommend is we would make the update in Bill and then
Okay.
allow that update to sync into QuickBooks. Now, it will only make the update if the bill is not in a closed period. If it's within a closed period, you're going to get an error message saying, hey, we can't update it. Please reopen the period, run a sync again to update it, right?
Okay.
So our sync is not able to override any rules that you've created in QuickBooks. So if you're not able to do it directly in QuickBooks, our sync will not be able to do it either. But I always recommend sorts of choose doing it in Bill, because everything pretty much will sync from Bill to QuickBooks. There's certain items that will
Beautiful.
not sync from QuickBooks to Bill.
Okay. Great. I appreciate that best practice.
Yeah, absolutely. And then once the payments have been created, we will be providing you a payment confirmation number, which you'll be able to use to review the details. Regardless if we're going to be sending out checks, e-payments, international wires, we are going to be showing you the progress from the time the payment is processed all the way until it's cash for checks, deposited for e-payments, and international wires. If we are going to be sending out checks on your behalf, since we are going to be using our own check stock, we're going to make sure to provide you a check number, check date, check expiration date. Our checks do remain active for 90 days. On the 91st day, if the check is not cashed, it will auto void. The funds will be returned back to the bank account that was used to fund those payments. And then the bill will actually go from a paid status right back to an unpaid status. So you don't have to worry about recreating the bill, having to go through the approval process again. You can just create a new payment. But if those checks do get cashed within those 90 days, we are going to be showing you the front and back images of those cash checks for your records. So you can actually see who endorsed the check at the time that it was cashed or deposited.
Very nice. Now, if bill pay like if I pay multiple bills on the same day,
Mhm.
so that's most likely going to show up in my bank account as one withdrawal. Where do I go to, or is Bill going to auto match all those bill payments back to the individual bills?
They will. So even though you see it as one lump sum on the bank statement, we're still creating individual bills, individual payments, and applying those to the bills in QuickBooks. Okay,
Beautiful.
so, but we do have a new feature. I always like to present this. I think it's one of the greatest features ever. I've been here for a long time, and this always used to come up when I was in support. I'm going to go to settings, bank and payment accounts. I'm going to go over to bank accounts, and we're going to go over to bank statement preferences. Now, as you mentioned, by default, we consolidate all transactions for the day. So if you were to pay 10 bills for $100 each, when you look at the bank statement, you'll see one transaction for $1,000, right? When that setting is enabled, what we do is we create a money out clearing account in QuickBooks or in Xero, right? And the sole purpose of that money out clearing account is so that you can see the breakdown, the details of that lump sum. So if we go into the money out clearing account, it'll show us the individual payments from when they were first created and scheduled. On the process date, it's going to sync over that lump sum, which will then offset those individual payments and balance it out to zero, right? So this will all be done via the sync. Our new feature is you can now switch it to show transactions individually per day. So now, instead of seeing one lump sum for $1,000 on the bank statement, you'll see 10 individual debits for $100 each. Each debit will also tell you exactly which vendor is being paid with that payment. And now, when it comes time to syncing these payments over to QuickBooks Online or Xero, we're no longer going to be posting them to the money out clearing account. We're now going to be posting them directly to the bank register instead. So
That's an amazing feature. I do have to agree with you. That is one of the greatest features I've ever seen.
I used to get asked this question all the
All
time,
the
and yeah,
time.
and I get it. I totally get it. The great thing is that this is a feature that is not a one-time setting. You can switch it at any time. From my experience, a lot of people always like to start off with show transactions individually, but once clients start processing hundreds of payments, thousands of payments, they switch it to consolidate transaction. That way they can just see one journal entry per day instead of seeing multiple on a daily basis, especially if you're going to be syncing like the bank feed and you have to do the matching in QuickBooks. If
Yeah.
you consolidate transactions, you'll do one match per day. If you show transactions individually, depending on how many payments are processed that day, you may have to do multiple matches, right? So it just makes it an easier process just to do one match. But again, it's your preference there. It's not a one-time setting.
That's a really beautiful feature though, to be able to toggle on and off. Just knowing our clients and the variations in their workflows, that's fantastic.
Absolutely. And then just to, I know we have a few accounting softwares, but just to kind of give you an idea of how our QuickBooks Online would work, in the initial sync, we would bring in chart of accounts, locations, classes, project jobs. We would bring in the entire vendor list. Anything that you see as a two-way sync, what that really means is you can either create it in Bill or create it in QuickBooks. Create it once, run a sync, and we can create it in the other platform for you. Right. I always tell everybody I would suggest creating those vendors in Bill. So what you can do is if you're going to be working with any new vendors, have them send their invoice into the inbox right off the bat. That way we
Yeah,
can start pulling invoice number, invoice date, due date, total amount. The vendor name will remain blank, but you can actually create the vendor as you're reviewing the bill. So as soon as you click save and you initiate a sync, not only are we going to be creating that bill in QuickBooks, but we're also going to be creating that new vendor for you. That way it's all done in one workflow.
beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So we have about 10 minutes left. I'm just going to, have a couple questions for you, but while we're doing that, I'm just going to go ahead and open up as well. Like if anybody has any questions that you want to get answered while we're here, feel free to pop it into the Q&A, and we will make sure that those questions get asked and answered. But Gilbert, before I ask the couple of questions that I have, is there anything else that you didn't show us?
No, I feel like that usually I always end my demos depending on what accounting software you're using, but just to kind of just give you an idea of how information syncs back and forth with anything that's on cloud like a Xero, Sage Intacct, Oracle NetSuite, QBO, you can set up an auto sync. That way it syncs every 24 hours, or you can always initiate a sync as well on demand, right? So for QuickBooks Desktop, we would need to install a sync dashboard where you can also initiate a sync with a few clicks of a button. You'll be able to run a sync anytime you want.
Very nice. Now, since you've been with Bill for so long, this is my rapid fire question of the day. If you had to sum up the benefits, well, like to us as practitioners, we're doing bookkeeping, we're doing tax preparation for our clients. If you had to sum up the benefits to us in two quick bullet points, what do you think the biggest benefits of using Bill are?
Security right off the bat. We're SOC 1, SOC 2 compliance. I mean, I think that's huge. We work with, I believe it's 6 out of the top 10 banks, so they know we take our security very, very seriously. Uh, which includes approval process, which includes, masking, clients' bank accounts. It's our bank accounts that are being on the line. And then efficiency, just making everything streamlined,
Hmm.
right? Where you don't have to keep re-entering vendors' banking information all the time just to send them an e-payment, or you don't have to, keep having to go to the post office to drop off checks or write checks or even anything like that, right? And now, collecting W-9s, right through Bill, and then also being able to e-file 1099s directly through Bill. I can't tell you how many times I've heard great things about that. People are very excited, especially finally, right? So that's the one word I hear all the time. So security and efficiency, I think those would be the main two things when it comes to working with Bill.
Absolutely. So we have a question from Jennifer. She's asking if you can go back to the create bill section, and show the item tab with the customer listed.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So if we go here, enter bill, we're referring to this item right here. Is that correct?
I think so. Yep.
Okay, awesome. Now, items has always been there, but here's the key thing. If you ever log in and you don't see the items tab, it's possible that it's not enabled for payables. So in other words, if I go to settings, if I go to accounting preferences, I just need to make sure that items, I always lose it. Items is set to yes. If I set it to yes, that means the items tab will appear. If I set it to no, that means the item tabs will not appear. So just one thing to just keep in mind, if you ever log in and you don't see the items tabs, just go to your accounting preferences. Next to use items, just select yes and click save.
Perfect.
Mhm.
Now, what would be an example of something that we would want to use the items tab for?
Items for payables. Let me show you here. Because we are also bringing in your entire items list directly from QuickBooks, right? So a lot of it can be, inventory, it can be services, it can be anything like that that you can
Very
use
nice.
your code your bills, right? But yeah, that's pretty much what you would be able to use it for, quantity, unit, cost, amount.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
If you guys have any other questions for Gilbert, make sure that you pop them into the chat or to the Q&A, and we'll make sure that those get answered for you. And then otherwise, we're going to take one more break until the top of the hour for our last vendor of the day. Let's see. Follow-up question on that. Will something in the items tab come over to QBO as a billable item?
Yes, we do sync billable. Now, the one thing to keep in mind is when we do sync this information over to QuickBooks Online, it won't automatically create the invoice. What you'll
Okay.
need to do is when you select the customer, and let's say you go into QuickBooks and you go under that customer and you create invoice, it's going to prompt you, hey, there's some billables here. Do you want to include these on your invoice? But it won't automatically create the invoice, just something to keep in mind.
So I saw you toggled that little billable
Mhm.
on. So that's kind of the key to making sure that that happens.
You got it. Yep, exactly.
Okay, great. Good follow-up questions. All right, last chance if you have any Q&A for Gilbert, make sure you pop it into the box because we are going to head to break in just a couple of minutes. Gilbert, thank you so much for being here. This has
My
definitely
pleasure.
been super informative. I'm excited. Like I said, we started using Bill internally and it just was making everything so much more efficient for me, especially from like a cash flow management perspective. Like I said, that I could kind of streamline our payables process, see everything in one spot. And definitely, I'm starting to see all of the ways that it's going to make life so much easier, not just for our clients, but that they're going to have this kind of
For sure.
one stop shop that I can access to help with their bookkeeping and their taxes as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We want to make it easy for everyone, not just clients, but for yourself as well. Give you some
Yeah,
extra time to watch some football.
yeah, that's absolutely right. Can't have too much extra time to watch some football. Um,
Exactly.
as one last quick follow-up question, can you talk a little bit about pricing for just a quick second?
So I don't know much about the pricing. We would have to go more with our sales engineer, our salesmen there, or account executives for them to do with the pricing because I know they can work with custom pricing. But just
Nice.
but just to kind of give you an idea, like ACH is right, like 59 cents per ACH, right? Whether you're sending a payment, whether you're receiving one.
Very
Uh,
nice.
checks are, I believe it's $1.99 for checks, right? International wires, right? It could be $20 to send them in USD, or it can even be a free transaction if you send them in the vendor's local currency, right? So just to kind of give you an idea of as far as the transactions, but when it comes time to pricing, yeah, I would say we would have to work with somebody from the sales side.
What's the next best step if somebody is interested in getting started with Bill.com?
I would say, reaching out to build.com directly, right?
Okay,
Just going to the website or, or maybe you and I can, bring in that client on and, we can kind of go from there, to be honest with
perfect. That's
you.
great. Thank you. I
Yeah,
very
so
much appreciate your time. Thanks for being here. We're gonna have seamless 1099s this year because we just made our W-9 collection so easy. So thank you.
absolutely.
Okay, so thank you guys all for hanging in with us. I know that it was a long afternoon full of lots and lots of information, but hopefully you got some great benefits out of it. And we will see you on our next event. Have a great afternoon.